last night, I sit down and I'm like, you know what? I want to watch the World Series, but I want to watch a little basketball as well. And I flip on Oklahoma City versus the Lakers, and look, it's Russell Westbrook coming back, and Russ runs out, and the fans give him a standing O. And as many of you know, I've done radio in Oklahoma City for years. It's like my home away from home or second home because I went to school there, I lived there, and I, again, still will do things on a local affiliate there. And so I want to see what the crowd would be like, not just with Russ coming home, but they're clearly in rebuild mode. And I'm watching the first quarter, and it's 41-19 at the end of the quarter. And the truth is, like, the Lakers kind of got bored with scoring so many points so quickly. Like, they're up 22 in the first at the end of the first quarter, 26 in the second quarter. And you were just sitting there going, yikes. Yikes. So I go back to watching the World Series. I go back to watching other NBA games. And all of a sudden I see the score pop up that it's close in the fourth quarter. I flip over and I couldn't believe my eyes. Late in the game, it appeared, the Thunder tried to give it away. Carmelo Anthony shot an air ball. So did Russell Westbrook. When they were down 3, a chance to force overtime. But late in the game, the Lakers tried to roll. You'd roll the ball into like the front court so the clock doesn't run. And that's when, I think it was Darius Baisley, picked it up and goes and dunks the basketball. Here's Russell Westbrook on getting ejected late in the game.
It is what it is. I don't think I got the first tag, honestly. The first one wasn't even a tag. The last one was a tag, that's cool, but just how I play the game, I take it on the chin and move on. But, in the game of basketball, certain things you just don't do. Like in baseball, flip the bat, and certain things you just don't do in sports. Game already over, and I didn't like it. Simple as that.
The Lakers came into the game 230-0 when they're leading by at least 25 points over the last 2.5 decades. The 26-point lead they blew yesterday was the biggest lead they've ever let go of in 25 years. That's and it's not just a historic collapse. They, on paper, have an unbelievable roster, even without LeBron and Talen Horton-Tucker and without Trevor Ariza. They still have a very, very good roster, which makes it all the more embarrassing considering, I would challenge people to find, to guess the names that were on Oklahoma City's roster last night. Like Dan Byers is joining us. Of course, you check out his podcast, I Want Your Flex. It's all about fantasy. And, of course, you can listen to him on Sundays. How many of Oklahoma City's starters can you name?
Starters? One for sure.
Who's that?
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Correct. 7 of 19. He ended up with 27 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists. Okay. Their first-round pick, Josh Giddey.
Yep.
Okay.
I don't know if he started or not.
He did start last night, I believe. They also have an undersized 4-man from Canada, played at Arizona State, that sometimes has big games. Lou Dort.
Yep. Ty Jerome, I saw, got a little run last night.
Ty Jerome got a little run last night. Ty Jerome was a plus 28, and he only played 14 minutes. And he only made one shot. That's, in terms of plus minus, that dog will hunt. They have Derek Favors, Lou Dort, Josh Giddey, Darius Baisley, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. That team beat Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook, DeAndre Jordan, Carmelo Anthony, Avery Bradley, Malik Monk, Darius. What's Bazemore's first name?
Kent
Bazemore. Like, that's crazy, right? Like, just in terms of roster and knowledge of roster, and then to, outscore them 41-23 in the third quarter, outscore them 26-20 in the fourth quarter. Does some of it speak to fatigue back-to-back nights? Sure, that's reasonable. As good as Melo had been 2 games ago, he was 1 of 8, 5 of 14. He looked old. But what a collapse. And what happens is this team was designed for such games. Hey, listen, We could have had Buddy Hield. And again, Buddy Hield had 7 threes last night in a Sacramento win over the Phoenix Suns. But instead, we got Russell Westbrook. And the idea is Russell Westbrook can win games for us, can keep us in and win games for us when LeBron James is out. Well, last night, he had a quadruple-double, 20 points, 14 rebounds, 13 assists, and 10 turnovers. Like, that's the most Russell Westbrook line ever. Shoots a poor percentage from 3, has 10 turnovers, but ends up with a triple-double. So you'll have people going like, well, he had a triple-double. Well, they lost with a 26-point lead. These are the type of losses that really sit with you. You know, they got a couple coming up against Houston, some of the bottom teams in the league. Man, you lose one of those games, plus you lost to the Thunder. Yikes. And then what they're running into, I call it like the Duke syndrome, but the Lakers are like this, Kentucky's like this, Alabama's like this. They get everybody's best game. You know, when the Thunder come to town, you go out the night before a game. When the Rockets come to town, you try some different things in your rotation. When the Lakers come to town, whether or not the Lakers are actually the best team or not, you have more fans, more attention, more energy in the arena, and you get better performances out of your players that are okay. And they become Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was really good last night. So was Josh Giddey. So was Lou Dort, especially on defense. But what a loss. I mean, that's one of those where, did one team win it or the other team lose it? No matter how well Oklahoma City played, you have a 26-point lead in the second quarter with Anthony Davis and Russell Westbrook and Carmelo Anthony. You have to win that game. You've played too many games to not win that game, and they did not. That is not a good sign at all. It's Doug Gottlieb Show here on Fox Sports Radio. The Oklahoma City Thunder, of course, have stockpiled the largest treasure chest of draft picks the NBA has ever seen. They have 36 draft picks over the next 5 years, 19 first-rounders, 17 second-rounders. Is that crazy?
That's insane.
That's the most insane thing I've ever heard.
And you lost to them.
Yeah, and you lost to them. And look, Dan knows more than I do in terms, I get credit in terms of basketball stuff way more than I should. Way more. And God bless Dan, he admittedly, I don't know who really starts for them. It's the Thunder. Who cares? They have no chance.
And Doug, it also shows I only tuned in at the end when it became a game because I didn't think it would be a game at the start.
And it wasn't.
Yeah.
It really, really wasn't.
I don't know if you guys were doing this, but as a Laker guy, I go back, 40 years with this team? I wanted them to lose that game. In other words, I didn't want them to pull it out last second and just be like, yeah, it was kind of an off couple quarters, but good teams find a way to win. I wanted them to lose so they could feel it. Did you guys get that feeling?
I did think that they got arrogant and they lost focus. And it is the NBA where it seems like every game is tied in the fourth quarter. And I did. I was cheering for Oklahoma City at the end. I don't like the whole who wanted it more thing, but Oklahoma City did want it more, didn't they? I mean, that felt like it.
It is an interesting point because you brought up the fact yesterday that some of these early NBA games have playoff-like atmospheres. And I was thinking about that because the Bucks lost last night to the Timberwolves. They've had some, no disrespect to Minnesota, but the Bucks have seemed to play really well on opening night and maybe have, kind of sleepwalked through the first week of the season. And then you have the Nets and James Harden's issues with the Heat. And I'm wondering if certain teams are playing like it's the playoffs. I'm wondering if it's, like a team like Miami that felt that they were shortchanged in the playoffs last year after getting swept by Milwaukee. Maybe they're playing better. I tried to take a step back and look at the entire NBA to try to feel like, okay, who is maybe playing with that playoff type of atmosphere? And maybe who is just like, all right, it's only October. I think that there's a good mix, but I think that there are a lot of teams that do feel like they want it, even though it's October 27th or 28th.
It's really true. I mean, I think what happens is a lot of it's the old Shakespearean heavy is the head that wears the crown, right? I do think that the Bucks, who have been, Giannis has been a marquee guy for a couple years because he's the MVP, right? He has. And we can argue whether or not he's been a global icon superstar or a national superstar at the level of most guys that win 2 MVPs or not. But it's a different arena that you walk in when you're the defending champion. It's different. And it's a different arena you walk in when you got Lakers across the front of your chest and LeBron James is on your team. It's just different. And I think that last night's a perfect example of that. That not all road wins are the same. And the crazy thing about the Oklahoma City one, that one used to be the best atmosphere in the league, and it was really half full. Now, it got super loud at the end. Obviously, all these places get loud when you come back from 26 down. But like if the Lakers knew what they were doing, you're down 25, you're up 25, you put them down 35, and people leave. But they came out flat out of halftime, and the place was just a zoo. So yeah, it was a crazy night in the association.